When the U.S. government recently hesitated to classify the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as a Christian denomination, it touched a serious cultural nerve. People saw it as government overreach, or even a direct attack on religious liberty. But beneath the political outrage is an assumption we rarely question today. In our modern culture, identity is treated as entirely self-declared. If a group calls itself Christian, we tend to assume the matter is settled. Yet the founder of the religion explicitly rejected that idea. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus warns that many will claim the title of Lord and even perform mighty works in his name, only to hear a chilling response: "I never knew you." If speaking the religious language and claiming the name isn't enough to enter the kingdom, self-identification collapses as a standard. We have to look for a concrete, historical definition of what a Christian actually is. Drawing a line naturally makes people uncomfortable. When we start defining who is and isn't inside the historical boundaries of the faith, it immediately sounds like we're passing eternal judgment on individuals. We have to separate two very different things. Judging an individual's soul, evaluating their sincerity, their hidden wounds, or their ultimate salvation, belongs entirely to God. That is far above human authority. Discerning whether a specific doctrine aligns with the historical faith is another matter entirely. From the very beginning, the Church was given a strict responsibility to guard the apostolic teachings. Identifying false teaching isn't an option, it is a direct command to protect the flock. Clarifying these theological borders is an act of clarity, and clarity is merciful. You don't help a seeker find the right path by blurring the map. Historic orthodoxy starts from a very specific premise. Humanity didn't invent Christianity by reaching up and speculating about the divine. God revealed himself by coming down. The truth was delivered, complete and whole. Early church leaders like Irenaeus noticed a persistent problem. New movements would emerge using the exact same scriptures and the exact same words as the church, but they would rearrange them to build a completely different picture of God. We see this constantly today. A modern group will talk about grace, a savior, and a church. But when you look closely at what those words mean within their specific system, the definitions describe an entirely different God. The Apostle Paul warned the early churches about exactly this: people preaching another Jesus. Sharing a religious vocabulary doesn't mean you share a religion. If the foundational reality of who God is has been altered, the matching words are just a costume. The historic faith rests upon the revelation of the Holy Trinity, one God in three distinct, uncreated persons, sharing one divine essence. The early church fought fiercely to protect this definition. They understood that if Christ is merely a highly exalted creature or a lesser created God, he lacks the power to actually save us. Only true God can unite creation back to the divine. This Trinitarian theology marks the point where modern religious movements, including the LDS Church, leave the apostolic path. They replace the Nicene Trinity with a plurality of gods, where the Father was once a man, and humans can become gods by nature. The ancient confession written at Nicaea, declaring Christ to be true God of true God, functions as the bedrock of Christian salvation. The true Christ is far too glorious to be swapped out for a lesser version. That makes the creed a wall of protection for the truth, rather than an arbitrary wall of exclusion. By these ancient standards, the boundaries of true Christianity feel incredibly narrow to the modern ear. But Christ himself designed it this way. He explicitly instructed his followers to enter through the straight gate, warning that the road leading to life is narrow, while the broad, culturally popular highway leads to destruction. The gate is narrow because truth and healing are real. Think of a master physician. They do not widen a diagnosis to flatter a sick patient. They offer a precise, narrow treatment because that is the only way the patient actually recovers. Guarding that narrow gate is an act of divine mercy. It prevents souls from wandering lost on a comfortable road built entirely on religious illusions. Today, millions of people possess fragments of the faith. They have deep moral seriousness, intense emotional zeal, or a genuine love for the Bible. But fragments are not the fullness of the apostolic inheritance. Christ promised that the gates of hell would not prevail against his church. The historic church did not vanish from the earth, waiting for someone to restore it centuries later. The church's bride never abandoned his bride. The true apostolic path is rooted in concrete physical realities. It begins with being born of water and the Spirit, baptized directly into the death and resurrection of the true Christ. The church's boundary serves as an open invitation. If you have been holding on to fragments, you are called to enter and experience Eucharistic union with God. True Christianity is a life-giving, ancient communion, an objective reality you enter rather than a cultural label you apply to yourself.